What's going on, everybody? Katie here, and welcome back to the 24th official episode of the King Darius Experience, where today we are going to be talking about the creator's economy. And I just wanted to preface this episode by saying that I personally, being a biracial man, African American man in America, being in a biracial relationship, having biracial kids, have always had to live a life of standing in the gap and standing on the fence every single day of my life. Prior to being married, prior to having kids, then afterwards, in business, outside of business, personal, and environments, every place I go, I'm sitting on the fence between one of the greatest divides that we've ever seen in this world, and that's this racial divide. And then add on top of that all the political differences, all of the statuses, all the geographical and state and national and international level legislation and all of that kind of stuff. And you have a perfect storm for a lot of chaos, a lot of confusion, a lot of manipulation, a lot of deceit, and a lot of empty hearts and sad people who are just losing their loved ones every single day. So my heart goes out to George Floyd and every other family, not just in the African American race, but that's who we're focusing on right now, but every family who's lost a loved one to injustice, to systematic racism, and just any type of segmentation and stuff that just isn't okay. When you cannot access things, it is not okay in this world. It is 2020, and it is sad to see people being oppressed, people being ostracized, people being marginalized, and having to wake up with that be their reality, while other people don't have to wake up with that reality. That makes my heart sad, and I've shed many tears over the past weeks, but I've been shedding tears my entire life. So I just wanted to preface this episode with that being the premise and the foundation of why I'm talking about the creator's economy today. So one of the things I wanted to start with is, while we're all looking for solutions, and while we're all sitting here, waiting for people, like I said in this past episode, waiting for organizations, waiting for brands, there's stuff you could be doing today. And not only is there stuff you could be doing today, but there is a different future you could be starting on today, right? Brick by brick, slab by slab, hard work by hard work, action by action. You could be creating your economy, because imagine how much you could do if you had complete control over every categorical aspect of what it takes for you to create, just in general. Imagine if you were financially free. Imagine if you were creatively free. Imagine if you're relationally free. Imagine if you had all obligations and expectations removed that didn't allow you to have those three freedoms in your life, and you were able to wake up and do that every day. Imagine the people you could give to, and I'm not just talking money, I'm talking time, money, resources. Imagine the lives you could change. Imagine the things you could do if you were creatively, relationally, and financially free. This is why I urge creators that there's stuff you can do today. There are actions you can take today, and there's so much stuff that we spend our time doing that has nothing to do with the forward motion, with the embetterment of the people that we love, and let alone the people we don't know, but we still have love for, and that we still live in this economy, in this atmosphere, in this ecosystem with. So I urge you so much to spend time gaining your freedom in those three areas, so that way you can be the creator that brings solutions to this earth that change lives, not only while you're here, but after you leave. And I say that as a black man who's married to a white woman that has three beautiful biracial kids, that there are very, 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 very real people who need what you have inside of you. So this is why I talk about these things. So one of the things that I wanted to bring you guys into, since there's been so many beautiful people who have been, following the brand, following the podcast, following the content. I've been getting messages, and there still is light, there still is hope. There's still so many beautiful people that are reaching out, checking in on my family, checking in on my wife, checking in on my kids, actually showing up, to the house and being with us, making sure everything is okay. And we've been doing the same for other people. And we've just had to see some disgusting things, but we've also been allowed and honored to see some beautiful things as well. So I just wanted to bring that to our attention. But let's talk about this, a little bit of this history here of why I personally believe that white privilege cannot be solved. So let me identify first, before we have rebuttalers and all that kind of stuff, that privilege is 100% about access. So one of the things that I had to deal with growing up is, for the first 9 years of my life, I grew up in the ghetto. I was born in the ghetto. I was around that sort of trap ghetto lifestyle lifestyle. It wasn't just all African American, even though that was, predominantly what it was. But it doesn't matter what culture you're in. If you grew up where I grew up, in the things and around the things that I grew up around, prostitution, sex, drug, money, violence, it didn't matter what culture you were from. That was just your daily reality. And then I went from that extreme, one extreme on the, left-hand side, to then I moved to a predominantly white community with my aunt and uncle who were Caucasian as well. And then I grew up for the next 9.5, 10 years of my life on the opposite side of the spectrum, having money, having food, having shelter, not having to worry about those things, but then having systematic injustices and prejudices affect who I was and affect my identity. So I struggled with a lot of these things. I struggled with physical, mental, sexual abuse. I struggled with, not having opportunity and access to things that I needed to. So I've experienced what it's like to, have injustices systematically, whether you're born in those ecosystems or you have gotten out of the mud or, gotten out of the trap lifestyle or whatever you want to call it. There are injustices everywhere. And I can tell you, as somebody who has had a very troubled past and upbringing, but it's not in comparison to others. I always tell people, never use your story as leverage. Never use your testimony as a comparison leveraging tool, because you're only going to end up feeling egotistical and prideful, or you're going to feel inferior and self-conscious and lower your self-esteem because you don't have things that other people have. So the thing I want to communicate to you today is that if you have anything beyond your immediate needs, right, as for survival as a human, let's think about them: food, water, air, love, relation, touch, right? The things that we actually need to survive as humans. The second you have access to more than that, you have a privilege. This is why white privilege is not solvable, because it's not about white privilege. It's about inferior and privileged access to things. And that's not just white people. Certain black people have access to things. Certain white people have access to things. Certain Asian people, certain Hispanic people. It doesn't matter what culture, what race you look at. Individually in their race and culture and economy, and cross-culturally, cross-racially, and cross their economies, there are accesses to things and things people don't have access to. And the way that we begin to solve injustice is not by pointing out a common enemy, right, in an individual, in a culture, or in a race. It's actually realizing, man, I have access to this need. Let me open my hand. Let me not lead with a clenched fist. So this is why it's always been a difficult subject matter for me to really, fully get behind either side, because I see naivety and I see half stories on both sides. I'm half white, half black, split right down the middle. My dad's 100% black. My mom is 100% Caucasian. And so it's like on one side you have people that have just lived, some by the system, some by other people's hand, and some by their own doing, in a very victimized, lifestyle. And then on the other side, you have people who are either half educated or naive, or choose to ignore the injustices that they get to wake up and not have to worry about and have privilege in the first place. And so there's right things and wrong things on all sides. And that's just only addressing those two, different cultures. That's not including every other culture and every other race and every other economy. So I think if we as creators become self-sustaining, if we create our own economies where we have the freedom relationally, we have the freedom financially, we have the freedom creatively to be who we are supposed to be and be who we believe we're supposed to be and what we're to contribute to this world, then that is going to start slowly, day by day, month over month, solving the injustices in this world. Because as you gain your freedom and as you gain your access to things that you didn't have before, you can freely give those things in a healthy and sustainable way to the people that you love and care about. And then as we link arms, we can gather our resources, we can gather our freedom, we can gather our finances and our creativity and our relationships and our network, and share those things and push those things forward. And it's not a matter of everybody gets an equal portion of everything, because we start to add these political layers of like, well, this government doesn't work this way, and this type of system doesn't work that way, and this legislation doesn't work that way. This is why you create siloed, compartmentalized, fully exclusive creative economies, so that way we get to decide what we do with them. If you have access, nobody else gets to decide what you do with that access. And if you are a good person, if you have a kind heart, if you think beyond yourself, beyond your own needs and wants, then we will actually be able to begin to solve these things decade over decade and generation over generation for our future creators and leaders inside of this world. So this is my heart. This is my, communication. This is my headline. I choose not to believe most of the things that I see in the media, because as you begin to actually look into it, use your intuition, discernment, whatever you want to call it, and see where the truth lies, there's so many layers of manipulation that even if we began to peel those things back, it wouldn't matter in the first place. So because you peel one back, one layer back of manipulation is, oh crap, there's another layer of manipulation and deceit and a half truth or a half baked stance or foundation of something. So this is my message to you. You need to awaken yourself, and you need to become empowered to create your own creator's economy, your own creative economy, so that way you can be self-sustaining and help people in the way that you see fit and see justice in the way that you believe we should see justice in this world. And I believe and I trust that level of autonomy and that level of unity will bring forth a wave of change that we have never seen in this earth before. And that is my urgency on this episode for you today. I will see you in the next episode of the King Darius Experience. Peace.
Around this ghost. If we show up, then we still have it. Yeah, we slide around this coast. Yeah, we glowing up, but we still trapped. Sitting high up on the stone. When my foes out, got the world clapping. Yeah, we vibing up in this show. So your main girl in the private section. Yeah, we ride around this ghost. If we show up, then we still have it. Yeah, we slide around this coast. Yeah, we glowing up, but we still trapped. Sitting high up on the stone. When my foes out, got the world clapping. Yeah, we vibing up in this show. So your main girl in the private section. Yeah, glowing up, but we still trapped. That's how a nigga survives. Flowing out, got the crowd packed. Yeah, that's how a nigga provides. Y'all insta this, y'all snap that, y'all diss this, and they snap back. Another mass shooting in the headlines. I'm like, damn, where that attack at? Cause y'all think this about race. They flaunt that shit in your face. It's like every day it's the same agenda. It's really not that hard to trace. Fuck it, we might as well face it. Accept it, whatever it's wrapped in. There'll come a day when they run out of grace. So me and my niggas stay trapping. Yeah, ride around this ghost. If we show up, then we still have it. Yeah, we slide around this coast. Yeah, we glowing up, but we still trapped in high.